In this next video, I'm going to show you how to create titles in Adobe Premiere using the text tool. You can get a little bit more control and do a little bit nicer things with it. And what first thing I want to do is I want to have the text come on the image before any, or I should say text come on the video before any of my images appear. So what I need to do is move all this over possibly to 4 seconds or so. So I'm going to set it to approximately 4. And the easiest way to do that, you could click and drag and select everything, but sometimes you can't get everything all together. But if you come up to this particular tool, the Track Select Forward tool, and watch, if I just click here, it selects everything. It lets me very easily move it, and I'm just going to push it even beyond that to maybe about 6 seconds here approximately. And then I do want to bring this back because I want my text to appear right at the very beginning. So the first thing you want to do is click the Type tool, and you're going to find a couple little unusual things with this, and I'll show you how to set them as we work. So when I click the Type tool and I come up here, I can just click, and I'm just going to put my name. And I want my name on 2 different layers, and partly because I want to independently control them. So now that I've got this here, I actually want to move it around on the screen. The simplest is to come back to the Select tool and lets you move it, but the difficulty is finding where the center is here. So what you're going to find is this little tool icon down here, the little wrench, is going to give you some controls that are very important. So the first one is you want to turn on Safe Margins. It's right down here. And when you do that, you get these borders here. So it now shows you exactly where things are. But you also want to turn on Snap Graphics. Now, the text I can kind of tell right now is left centered, or I should say it's not centered, it's flush left. So I want to correct that. So the first thing you do is when you correct this, you come up under Controls, and now all of a sudden you have controls that let you work with text and things like that. So here's our source text, and let's go ahead. And the first thing I want to do is set it to center. So you notice all of a sudden things change, and now watch what happens as I drag it around. Oh, okay, I can find the center very easily. And I'm just going to bring it a little bit above center. Now another thing I want to do is this. I don't want this right next to the other video. I actually want to put it above. And I'm going to move it 2 stops above, or two steps above, because I'm going to do some adjustments to this, and then after you do the adjustments, you can very easily copy it, and then all you have to do is change the text, and you'll have all your effects with it. So let me just kind of describe what I'm going to be doing here. So I've got the text selected, and the first thing I want to do is possibly change the font size. So I just come under here where fonts are, and I'm going to go to Arial Narrow, and that's a nice clean font, and the size seems to be appropriate for what I'm going to be doing here. But I do want to widen the text, and so right here you can click and drag, and just do that again, and I'm going to drag it to, I'm actually going to type in 200. That's the simplest. 200. There we go. So now my type has a little bit wider appearance. And you can make other adjustments too. One of them, I'm going to make the fill color. I'm going to click on fill, and I don't actually want it to be pure white. I'd actually like to have it a little bit grayish, because I don't want it to be too commanding. So right now, basically, if I turned on the video, let's go back to the beginning and play it, very little is going on. So let's go back to the beginning here. And let's start adding some things to it. Number one, I would like the text to come from no clarity whatsoever to 100%. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this to 2 seconds, right about there. And I'm going to look for opacity here. And I've got opacity. And what I'm going to do is click on this little clock icon, and what that does is it sets a keyframe. So if I click it, now it's going to say right here, bring this to 100%. Well, what I want to do is start from 0 opacity, and so I'm going to go here and click and drag, and what you might not be able to see it, but it actually put another little keyframe right there. So now let's take a look at what it does. So it comes from 0 up to 100%. So it's actually pretty effective. And another thing I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to make my type just a little bit longer there. And so what I need to do is now have this at 100% at 4 seconds, right about there. And all I have to do is just click here again, and actually, nope, actually just click right there. There we go. So now I put another one at 100%, and at the very end, I do want it to fade out to 0. So now I basically come here again to 0. So what you want to do is just watch this again, just to see how it's, how easy it is to do this. But let's just put this back. Now look over at the screen here, and I'm just going to click play, so you can see how it ramps up, and it ramps down. And what's really nice is it's on a black background, so if I did want it to come over the text, it's very easy to do that. So now I want to do one more thing. I actually want it to start at 90% size. So I just have to come up to where the size control is, scale, that's right here. And at the very beginning, I actually want to set it to 90. There we go. And I just click my button. So now it's setting it to 90. And then at the very end, I want it to be 110. And so let's just take a look at it. So now let's play it. So you can see how it starts small and it's just slowly getting bigger. And so the only other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to change these points here. I'm going to click and drag over all of them. I'm going to control click, and set these all to Auto Bezier. And what that does is it actually softens or smooths out the movement changes here. So if I go back to the beginning, click OK, there we go. And you'll see it's just a little bit easier transitions when it goes from one thing to another. So at this point now, what we want to do is make a copy of this and have my last name right below it. So the simplest is to select it, hold down Option key, and click and drag. So now I'm going to go down to the bottom one, and what I need to do is move it down. There we go, and we're going to put it down here. And what I want to do is get the text tool and put my last name there. There we go. And the first thing I want to do is change the font to a bolder font. So I'm going to go to Arial Black, and I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. Oops, it looks like I didn't get everything there. Select all. And this happens occasionally. So let's get down to this. So, and bring it back to 100. There we go. And make sure we're on the right font. There we go. So it's good to make a mistake so you can see how easy it is to correct things. So now my font is the correct one. And now I'm going to slide this up to about 120%. Probably, let's do 150. There we go. And what I want to do is I really want this to be wider. So I'm going to go 500. There we go. So it spaces it out. And now let's just grab the select tool and see if it looks appropriate. I think I actually want it a little bit bigger still. So I'm going to go to 175. There we go. Easier to just click on it. 175. There we go. And I'm going to bring it down just a hair. There we are. And now watch what happens when I bring it back. They both should act exactly the same. But what I would like it to do is this. I want my last name to stay on slightly longer. So what I'm going to do is just drag this over a little bit here. So it's actually going to go into where the first images appear. So let's just go back, click OK. There we are. So let's turn off this safe margins. Now let's bring it back to the beginning. Let's take a quick peek at what it looks like. There you go. So now you can see how simple it is to add something that looks very elegant. All we did was we just brought this in on separate layers. You can actually adjust them a little bit. Let's even do that just so you can kind of see how easy it is. If I grab this and click here, I can bring all these in a little bit closer. There we go. Let's bring this back. Once again, bring it up. So now the images will start sooner than they did before. It's a very simple way to add some beautiful, elegant transitions. And I'm just going to let this play through to the very end.